Welcome to Fun Factory Gaming. Crimson Desert made my video game radar go off as soon as it was announced back in 2019. The gigantic open worlds that call for intense exploration, along with dynamic combat and a narrative with hints of fantasy, were enough to capture my attention and put a reasonable dose of hype inside me. The wait has been long, but everything indicates that the game will be released sometime during the year 2025. Pearl Abyss, the studio behind the project, has not yet revealed any specific date, but let's hope they do so soon. Fortunately, to overcome this exhausting anguish, we had the opportunity to try the game at the invitation of its managers, giving us a clearer idea regarding one of the fundamental pillars of Crimson Desert. For context purposes, it's important to note that this demo focused solely and exclusively on the game's combat, divided into 5 specific sections. In the first phase, we faced hordes of enemies in the middle of a heated and bloody battle. The rest consisted of bosses in their more traditional form. Even with the video tutorial provided before we start the demo, Crimson Desert features an extremely complex combat and control scheme, which may be a bit tricky for those players who are not used to playing this type of action game. Cliff, the game's protagonist, can perform a light attack or heavy attack, dodge and parry, or use a bow and arrow, among a series of other combinations by simultaneously pressing certain buttons on the controller. I admit that initially, it was a devastating experience surrounded by dozens of enemies. Cliff was being hit left and right, making it almost impossible to escape or break through the barrier they created. I died quite a few times. And don't think that just because you're attacking a certain opponent, the others will stand by and watch the show. As such, there seems to be a considerable learning curve in terms of combat, which will please those players who are looking for more complex games. However, I must reiterate that this was a demo focused solely on combat, which threw us without any qualms into the heart of the action. I don't know to what extent the version I played is representative of the final product, but I believe that when the title is finally released, players will have the opportunity to try out Cliff's different combat abilities more calmly. This logic also applies to the different bosses I was able to face. All of them are voracious and relentless, with a vast arsenal of attacks at their disposal. And it is necessary to have improved reflexes and know when to attack and when to wait. The fight against Staglord, a fearsome king who wears a shield and sword, not forgetting the beautiful crown of horns, has more traditional highlights. A one-on-one fight, in which it is imperative to dodge his attacks and avoid taking huge damage. In turn, the mischievous Reed Devil uses his teleportation powers to confuse us and trip us up. This boss also has the ability to create doppelgangers or structures that we must destroy to continue the fight. Finally, the beautiful Hex Marie creates an army of creatures that pursue Cliff without mercy, and at the same time fire projectiles from far away.
How about I claim you as my own, as my son?
The Lord's reek of deceit,
Queen Stoneback Crab deserves a special honorable mention, as it works completely differently from all the others. In mechanics that seem to mix Zelda Breath of the Wild or Shadow of the Colossus, the objective is to destroy specific points on his back in order to eliminate it, something that is not as simple as it may seem. These memorable confrontations are presented with a high degree of difficulty, but they are equally challenging and stimulating, supported by beautiful graphics and exemplary performance. I played on a PC with a DualSense controller, and at no point did I feel let down. In addition to the beautiful landscapes and realistic character animations, everything seemed to run at a smooth 60 FPS. But as good as the experience was, there are several rough edges that need to be ironed out to make everything more understandable and make life easier for players. For example, the emphasis on particle effects is quite high, and although satisfactory from a visual point of view, it becomes counterproductive in the context of battle. Several times I found myself losing the main character amidst the visual chaos, which is not a very good feeling. In addition, the lock-on mechanic on enemies did not always work as intended, and this is an issue that I hope will be fixed once the game is released. Being able to play Crimson Desert even in its unfinished state has made me even more excited for its release. I feel like I've only seen a tiny fraction of what Pearl Abyss has in store, and I can't wait to explore every nook and cranny of the continent of Pyrule. The scale of Crimson Desert feels Herculean, and it looks like it could be one of the biggest games of 2025. And that's all for this video. If you enjoy my work, please show your love by hitting the like button and considering subscribing. As always, let's stay together, united by friendship, happiness, and Fun Factory TV. Thank you for your support.